The price of validation. Neha adjusted her glasses, flipping another page of her heavy law textbook. The campus courtyard hummed with the voices of students chatting, laughing, the sound of footballs bouncing against concrete. All the usual noise of the late afternoon. Neha, however, barely noticed. Her focus was so sharp, the world around her blurred into nothing. Neha, there you are! The shark pulled her out of her reverie. She blinked and looked up. Ruru was waving wildly, her arms full of fast food trays. With her loud laughter and boundless energy, Ruru was impossible to miss. Come on, nerd. It's lunch break, not the life or death exam you're making it out to be. Ruru blurted, grinning. Neha sighed, closing her book with a soft thud. A hint of smile tugged at the corner of her lips. Lunch won't save you from failing your assignments, you know. Ruru laughed, nudging Neha with her elbow. Neither will that law book. Neha rolled her eyes but stood, letting herself to be pulled away from her corner. They were opposite in almost every way. Neha was the quiet, disciplined one. She was precise and focused, content in her own space. Ruru, on the other hand, was sunshine personified. Loud, charismatic, always surrounded by friends. Their friendship was a constant clash of storms and sunlight. It was imperfect, unpredictable, but it worked. One evening, on their way back home from campus, they passed through the society gate. There, near the corner of the garden, a group of street dogs were huddled together. Their fur was matted, their eyes wide with hunger. Neha paused, her heart pulling at the sight. She didn't say anything, just reached into her bag and pulled out a packet of biscuits, something she always carried with her. She slowly crouched down and crumbled a few biscuits in her palms, offering them to the dogs. Ruru stopped beside her, arm folded, watching the interaction. You and these dogs, she joked, half smiling. You're going to be their queen. Neha's eyes softened, but her voice was steady. They don't have anyone else. Ruru's smile faltered. She had always loved dogs too, but something about the way Neha was feeling them, the quiet tenderness, the way she connected with the animals, made something stir in Ruru, a flicker of jealousy. Or maybe it was just the way people looked at Neha in the moment, like she was doing something that mattered. Ruru shook it off, but the feeling lingered, a shadow at the edge of her thoughts. The next day, the buzz began. During a group chat about an upcoming field trip, the conversation turned to Neha. Have you seen Neha with the street dogs? She's amazing, someone said. Yeah, another voice chimed in. So brave and kind. I love how she doesn't care about what people think. Ruru paused, her fingers hovering over the phone screen, suddenly very aware of how much attention Neha was getting. She loved dogs too, right? So why didn't anyone notice her when she played with them? Why wasn't she the one everyone was praising? The next afternoon, Ruru went alone to the spot where the street dogs had been. She brought a bag of dog food with her, something she had bought earlier that day, feeling the strange urge to prove something. Hey there, she said softly, kneeling down to open the bag. Her phone camera clicked as the dogs cautiously approached. They seemed skittish, but after a few moments they started sniffing at the food. Ruru smiled, snapping a few pictures, recording a short video. She posted it online with the caption, Because every life matters. The likes started pouring in, the comments too. You're a true animal lover, one comment said. What a beautiful soul, another praised her. We need more people like you in this world. The validation felt good, better than she had expected. Soon, feeding the dogs became part of her routine. Every day after class, Ruru would go to the spot, bringing food for the dogs. She even began filming herself more for the videos, the likes, the attention. She didn't just give them food anymore, she took pictures, she documented every little interaction. But then she crossed a line. She started bringing the dogs inside the society gate. At first, the residents were indifferent, but soon the complaints started. Children were scared of the dogs. Some people didn't want them near the playground. One evening, Mr. Rati, an old resident, stopped Ruru by the gate. Ruru beta, it's good that you care about the dogs, he said gently. But you're disrupting the peace. You need to think about everyone living here. Hearing that, Ruru's eyes flared. They have a right to live here too, she shot back. It was the beginning of a confrontation that would grow more heated as days passed. She filmed herself crying, posting a video calling out to all the animal lovers to stand up for the voiceless. The video went viral. People praised her for being brave, for taking action when others stayed silent. But Neha was watching. It was late one evening when Neha finally confronted Ruru. Ruru, you can't keep doing this just for attention, Neha said, her voice quiet yet firm. Ruru's eyes hardened. What do you mean? I'm helping these poor dogs. No, Neha said, her gaze intense. You're helping yourself. You're doing this for fame, not the dogs. Ruru froze, something cold and sharp twisting inside her. What? So now you think I'm just a fake? Neha sighed. No, I'm just saying there's a bigger picture here. You're so focused on what people think that you're ignoring real consequences. But Ruru wasn't listening anymore. You're just jealous, she snapped. People admire me for what I'm doing. They respect me. It seems like you're not being able to take that. Neha's eyes widened at that, her mouth opening to respond, but she stopped herself. Without a word, she turned and walked away. From then on, Neha stopped offering advice. She didn't stop by when Ruru fed the dogs, walking right past her, her pace steady, her expression calm. The society residents began to complain more, yelling at Ruru about the dogs, the mess, the disturbance. Neha passed them by without a second glance. Ruru didn't understand. She thought Neha was upset, jealous even, that she was getting so much attention. But deep down, a part of her missed the relationship more than she was willing to admit. But Neha didn't give it much thought. She just moved forward, as she always had. A week later, Ruru returned from a swimming lesson, her body tired and her mind restless. As she walked past the garden, she saw Ria, Neha's younger sister, sitting on the ground laughing as a street dog playfully nipped at her hands. The dog wagged its tail, enjoying the attention, while Ria giggled, holding its ears as it licked her cheek. Ruru paused, a smile tugging at her lips. It was a simple, quiet moment, just the two of them enjoying the warm afternoon. She just pulled out her phone to capture the moment when, in a split second, the dog snapped. It wasn't an attack, just a startled reaction, but the dog's teeth grazed Ria's palm, leaving a small scratch. Ruru's heart skipped a beat. She hurried over and pulled Ria away, trying to keep her calm. It's okay, she said, though she could hear the edge in her own voice. Let's go get some ice cream, alright? Ria was still upset, her eyes welling up with tears. But Ruru kept talking, distracting her as they walked to the local shop. By the time they reached the counter, Ria had stopped crying, her tears drying in the cool breeze. She handed Ria her ice cream and took her home. Ruru didn't say much about the bite. She kept it quiet. It was nothing serious, he thought, and she didn't want to worry Neha or anyone else. So she quietly cleaned the cut with a little water and dropped Ria to her place. Over the next few days, everything seemed fine. Ria acted like nothing had happened, and Ruru let it go, never mentioning the dog or the small bite again. But a week later, things changed. Ria's fever spiked unexpectedly. At first, it seemed like a regular illness, but as the day went on, it was clear something was wrong. Her parents rushed her to the hospital, and the news that followed left Ruru stunned. Ria had rabies. The shock hit her hard. The news spread quickly like wildfire, and soon the entire neighborhood was caught in a storm of confusion and blame. Ria's condition worsened, and the once peaceful street were now filled with frantic whisper and anxious murmurs. Ruru stood there, frozen, as Neha's parents erupted in anger. The accusation came like sharp knives, each word cutting deeper than the last. You brought those street dogs into the society, Ruru! Neha's father yelled, his voice trembling with rage. Look at what's happened. This could have been avoided if you hadn't encouraged those animals to be here. Ruru's heart pounded in her chest, her breath shallow. She could feel her knees weakening beneath her as guilt slammed into her like a wave. She opened her mouth to explain, but no words came. She wanted to say something, anything to defend herself, but the weight of their accusation felt suffocating. They didn't know. They didn't know about the bite. Her parents, standing at a little to the side, tried to defend her. It's not her fault, her mother said, her voice firm but strained. You can't blame Ruru for this. She never meant for any of this to happen. but their voices barely cut through the storm of accusation. Neha's parents, devastated by what had happened to Ria, didn't seem to hear anything but their own grief and anger. The words flew at Ruru, each one sinking into her, feeding the guilt she already felt. They don't know. They don't know. Her heart beat faster. Every thump of reminder of the secret she had kept hidden, the guilt gnawed at her inside, sharp and relentless. She wanted to scream, to admit everything, to confess the truth. But it wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't fix Ria. The days stretched on, each one dragging heavier than the last. Neha and her family withdrew into themselves, distant and broken. Ria's condition deteriorated rapidly, the hospital visits becoming more frequent, the doctor's faces more grave, and then, a week later, the unimaginable happened. Ria passed away. Ruru couldn't bring herself to leave her room. The weight of what had happened crushed her, leaving her with a hollow ache deep inside. She couldn't face anyone, not Neha, not her parents, not even herself. She stayed in her room, silent, alone with her own thoughts, as the world outside seemed to keep turning without her. One afternoon, she heard a noise from outside her window, a familiar sound that made her chest tighten. She moved to the window, her heart heavy in her chest. Through the glass, she saw her best friend, Neha, walking with her parents. Neha was carrying a bag, her movements slow and deliberate. She was leaving. Ruru stood there unable to move, her breath caught in her throat. Neha didn't even glance up at the window. She didn't wave. The weight of the moment hit Ruru like a punch to the gut. It was as though the ground had been pulled from under her. Neha's leaving, and I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. The realization hit Ruru harder than anything she had felt before. She had lost everything. Neha, her closest friend, was gone, maybe forever. Ria too was gone, and the guilt she carried with her now seemed endless. The world outside seemed to blur, the edges of her vision fading as her heart ached, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again. She had hidden the truth, and now it was too late. She wasn't a hero, she wasn't an activist. She was a girl who had wanted attention, who had wanted to be loved for the wrong reasons, and she had lost everything because of it. Now, in the silence of her apartment, Ruru sits. The cat outside stares at her, waiting, but she doesn't care anymore. She doesn't feed it, doesn't take pictures of it. All the likes, all the praise, they feel so hollow now. No matter how many times she wishes it, the truth doesn't change. Some mistakes can't be undone, and some friendships are lost forever.